I've been playing this game called HumanitZ by YoDubs Studio. UDubs, YoDubs. I'm not sure, but it's an early access zombie survival open world PvE, PvP. It's essentially DayZ and Project Zomboid's bastard child. It's a fun game with a hell of a lot of potential, but it's hard to recommend because it's still very it's in early access obviously, so it's allowed to be janky, it's allowed to be, you know, I'm going to say haphazard. Can I should I even use that word haphazard? That doesn't sound like it fits into what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just it's not it's definitely a WIP. It's the definition of a work in progress. It's still kind of bare bones, at least it feels like it, but the development cycle has been pretty quick and thorough. Um, Meaning that like in the I believe the game's been out for like 5 months, and it's been updated countless times in just that short amount of time. So it's like that shows you the level of dedication the developers or developer. I'm not sure if it's a one guy studio or a multiple team studio type deal. But I know it's a small indie. It has to be a small indie team or just a sole developer because it definitely, I don't know, feels like that. It feels like it's um, not as fleshed out, obviously, as like a AAA or company or any company with like a big budget. First of all, I want to talk about the name HumanitZ. It's a terrible name. I'm just being honest. I don't know why they chose that. I guess they wanted to play on the word humanity and just name it HumanitZ. Uh, man, not a good one, man. That one hurts. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like it's still not too late to change that. Uh, that's about my most major concern. I mean, it's hard to pick on a game that's still being developed. You know, like it reminds me a lot of Dead Side in a way. Two different games, obviously, but what I mean is like when you play these games, you're having fun and you're like, damn, the potential is boundless, right? Like Dead Side, um, Humanity. That's the feeling I get. I play them and I go, man, there's a lot you can like. I can see beyond the horizon that in the future these games are gonna be fucking awesome. But as of right now, it's a long development cycle, and so many things can go wrong, right? In the like, in, in on the road to greatness, right? With games like Dead Side and games like Humanity, like you can have developers drop out of studios, you can run out of money, and essentially create a dead game. And I'm sure that's not what anybody wants, but that's life, right? You can't sit here and be like, it's good. That's why it's hard. I don't quite understand the argument when people go, I can buy an early access game now and then basically invest on it now while it's cheap, and then 2 3 years down the line, once it becomes a fleshed out, fully baked game, or at least mostly fully baked game, then I would have my investment would pay off. And it's like I can't get behind that because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You don't even know if you're going to be alive in the future, let alone a company still being in business in the future. So it's kind of a gamble, but it's cool to support developers. Like the game's $20, which I feel like right now it's a fair price. I'm not going to say it's expensive, and I'm not going to say it's cheap. I think it's a fair price, $20. So I think they did pretty good with the pricing, although I feel like it'll be more enticing if the game was like $15. I don't know. For some reason, it's just I can't explain it to you because it's a feeling, but I just feel like this game is a $15 game. Now that sounded bad. Someone might hear that and go like, "Wow, that sounds bad," but I don't mean it that way. Like I said, I'm not trying to say that the quality of the game is so bad that it should be cheap. That's not what I'm alluding to. I'm just saying that like since it's still early access, it's a work in progress. It just feels like a $15 game. If it was more fleshed out, then I could be like, okay, yeah, yeah, $20 seems about right. But yeah, it's swimming in a sea of competition right now. Just recently I played with a friend, and like there was like one person at least within that hour that we played, because we checked later on and there were more people online, and then we checked later on, even more later on, and I don't think there was no one online, or not no one. There was obviously one person online. And I'm not being funny. It was like literally one person all across the official servers and stuff. And I'm not saying this to as a knock to the developers or anything, but it's more than you can't just look at even the official servers didn't have anybody on, like not a soul. So you can't just automatically assume that people aren't playing this game because it's a bad game. That's not true. It's actually a pretty decent game, although it definitely needs more time to be fleshed out. It's just the swimming in a sea of competition. You know, you've got games like DayZ, Scum. You've got games that are just more fleshed out, more intriguing to play, to be honest. And especially now, Scum, from what I hear, they're working on armed AI. That was me orgasming. I don't even know that's a word. I can't wait for that. I love that. I'm not a big PvP guy. Uh, I think it's fun. I've said this probably hundreds of times already. I think PvP is fun. I don't have anything major against it. I do have something against it, but nothing major. Anywhere where there's competition in real life, in video games, whether it's combat sports, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, whether it's fucking tennis, like you're going to have cheaters. You're going to have people who are using performance enhancement drugs, steroids, and such. You're going to have people, and in a digital world, you're going to have people that use programs and hacks and exploits and glitches to their advantage. And that's one big reason why I don't like PvP, because it's like, you can try your best to mitigate the damage by having like, you know, uh, what do you call those things? The anti-cheat programs and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how well they work, but apparently, from what I see in the comments, it's not working that great. But then again, people are prone to exaggerate. I've seen it many times. Especially those people that play 2,000 hours on record and be like, "I can't recommend this game, bro." Bro, how can you play a game for 2,000 hours and then just wake up one day and go, "I can't recommend it"? Sounds like sounds like you fucking invented the game if you played it for 2,000 hours. Like that's like developer hours and shit. But anyways, that's one of the reasons, cheaters, why I'm not crazy on PvP, but also just the level of constantly fighting back and forth and losing your shit, assuming you're playing games where you drop your loot, like DayZ, Scum, even HumanitZ is like that. They have PvP also, and once you get killed, you can lose all your shit. You get looted. Your dead corpse can get looted by other players. I play DayZ with mods, and but my mods are very tame. I don't have anything crazy like removing stamina or diseases or anything like that. I have just like enemy AI sprinkled throughout the map. I use God man, I should shout them out. It's called like immersive bots for God damn it. I think his name is Sir Brando. I believe that's his handle on Steam, and he has this really cool uh he uses the already existing DayZ expansion mods, and he kind of just you can download his mod, which is essentially just a file you can put into your server, and it just spreads out bots all throughout whatever map you're using. He has a bunch of maps, but let's say you're using Livonia like me. I'm currently on Livonia. I use his Livonia map. He mapped out all these bots. I don't know where they're at, and then they just pop out randomly. And I like the fact that they shoot zombies and they heal themselves, and it's really cool, man. It feels like single player DayZ, except that I'm actually renting a server from Nitrado, and that's like $7 a month. There's subscriptions that are more, but I enjoy it. Whatever. Scum is finally adding enemy AI. I don't. I'm fucking like I'm dude. I'm so happy because Scum is such a dope ass game. I love Scum a lot. Like it's a great game. Um, I had mad fun with it even on and off. Or actually, I rented a server, and me and some buddies, we didn't even. It was just our server. It wasn't even obviously PvP because we're not gonna fight each other. We did do the deathmatch thing a few times, where we all three of us just joined like this. I don't know if they still have that mode, but you can just join death matches and just go kill each other. We did that for a little bit too. That was mad fun. PvP is so much better with your friends, man, instead of weird strangers. They make moaning sounds and shit on the mic. Rust, essentially. I was seeing some videos yesterday of people playing Rust. I was like, who the fuck is this game for? Like a bunch of little psychos. But then again, I said the same thing about DayZ, and I love that game. So I guess I just had the sudden realization that I'm a psycho. Hmm, cool. HumanitZ, definitely something you should look up. Definitely something I think you should invest your time in if you like games like Scum and DayZ and stuff like that. But just remember, man, you got to keep your expectations realistic. It's not the most polished game. And by polished, I mean like like in general, like from the UI to the combat to the, like, it's functional. That's the best way I can describe the game. It's a functional game, but it's not polished. But if the developers keep doing this update cycle on the game, which I hope they do, its game is going to be fucking awesome, man. It's going to be like a genuine DayZ slash Project Zomboid clone. You know, I'm hoping it does get there. I'm rooting for the game, hence why I bought it. Uh, I'm just thinking of other games that I have in my library that I also invested in and haven't checked out in a while. Damn. I hope this doesn't become the case, but I always keep my eye. I know for a fact. I always keep my eye on games that I find very interesting. They never leave my head. I don't know why. I forget about everything, dude. Like, I'm terrible with directions. You could drop me in a city that I lived in my entire life, and if I don't have like GPS, I'm lost, man. I'm terrible with. I'm like a landmark guy. I don't. People know streets like, oh, turn left on Main Street and Third Road, and I'm just like, what? Oh, you mean where the statue is? Oh, yeah, yeah. Hit a left near a statue. That's how I am. I don't know. My brain's retarded. It is retarded. I don't want to be that guy that like bashes up and coming games too much, but they do deserve criticism. Hence, that's why they're on early access in the first place, right? Essentially, we're testing the game for them by paying it. It's kind of ingenious if you look at it in a, I guess, negative light or realistic light. You can say early access is essentially like you pay to become a worker. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you pay, in this case, it'll be $20, right, to play a early access game, and then you become a tester. So you're giving them money for you to become a tester. And essentially, you just keep giving feedback on the game. You keep playing the game, and then eventually they release a great product, and then they jack up the price. And it's kind of weird, right? Like, early access kind of feels like a scam if you look at it that way. If you look at it in a different way, which would be like, I'm investing in someone's future. They have a company, a video game company, and you want to see them thrive because you're not a hater, right? You're a good person who likes to see people flourish around you. You're not secretly a jealous, envious bitch. Tara. No, there is no Tara. I'm just joking. But yeah, like, you can look at it that way and be like, I'm investing in someone's future. I'm investing in this game. And I don't know. I can't tell you how to fucking live your life. But to speak about the game a lot, because I don't do that often with games. I kind of generalize topics. I do broad sweeping topics. I don't really get into specifics, and I don't think I am going to get really into specifics a lot. I will get into specifics now about the game, but for the most part, I just like talking shit. Obviously, if you've been listening to me for like the last, I don't even know how long I've been doing this, man. It hasn't even been a year, but, or why am I doing this? Dun-dun-dun. What the fuck? I lost my train of thought. To get a little more in depth in the game, it's isometric, kind of bird's eye view type game, obviously, and yeah, it's kind of basically like Project Zomboid, that same type of view, except you can see people behind you, which I find kind of stupid, to be honest with you. I don't know if there's a setting, because in Project Zomboid you only can see whatever's in front of you, but since you're looking at since it's an isometric game, you're basically like God view. You're the player and you're looking at this overhead view of your character in the world. So you should be able to see 360 all around, but no, only your character, whatever your character's field of vision, their cone, their vision cone, whatever that catches is whatever you can see. So you can't see anything behind you, even though you, as God, quote unquote, the guy who's controlling this guy in this world, you can see behind your player, but your player can't see behind himself. Sounds confusing? because it kind of is, and it kind of makes no sense, and that threw me off when I first played the game because I was like, how the fuck did I get bit behind my neck from an invisible zombie? And it turns out you have to look around you. Um, yeah, that's I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that, but well, actually, I do know how to feel about that. I'm not too crazy about it. But to get specifics with humanity, it's like that. It's an isometric game, except you can see all around you. Combat feels pretty crunchy. I like it. You know, it feels more satisfying than DayZ. Sadly, you know, DayZ's been around for over 10 years. You know, and the melee combat is it's just not its shining example. It's not a shining example of what good melee combat is. It's passable, but it's not that great, man. It feels wonky. The fixed animations feels like so old school. I don't know. There's something about that. Like back in the day, from what I hear, they used to have ragdoll physics in DayZ. I don't know if that's true, but I read in a comment somewhere that they did. I'm like, I don't know why they took it out. Maybe it was causing too many complications. But like when you kill a player, or in my case, you know, since I don't really do AI. Sorry, since I don't really do actual players, it's AI, but it counts as players. So I just want to make that clear because I don't think I've ever killed another player in DayZ. Uh, just like I said, just AI, modded AI. Anyways, point is, I remember the fixed animations. You kill someone and they all fall in the same way. Same thing with zombies; they all fall the same way. You know, like one out of two ways or whatever. And I'm just like that doesn't feel good to me. It feels like something out of an old MMO. I don't know. And but DayZ, sorry, HumanitZ has ragdoll physics. You know, wonky. Sometimes you hit a zombie and they literally fly up in the air very comically, like Super Mario levels of like you know the zombie is flying towards the camera in the sky type. It's funny as shit. But you could tell it's not meant to be that way or whatever. So ragdoll physics obviously have their own issues. That's probably why they implemented them in DayZ at first and then removed them later on, if they were even there in the first place. Like I said, I just read a comment online, one comment about that. Um, Food systems drag and drop. I think that's new. Before it wasn't like that. Once again, these are just part of the new updates that are coming out like very often, which is cool. Once again, I love games that are getting updated regularly. Same thing with Scum. Scum, you know, they're always reminding you of what they're doing. Sometimes it feels a little copy and paste. They're like bug fixes. We're working on bug fixes, more bug fixes, and you're like, I've seen this same. It's almost like they copy and pasted it, but at least they're giving you something, right? Like that's what I like. And then Scum's a great game, you know. So Scum is probably, now that I think about it, the only game that I can think of in my library at least that gets updates so fucking frequently. It's like two a week and shit. At least it feels like that. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but yeah. Um, Drag and drop system in humanity. Double click. No, no, sorry. Right click that you can consume. I like they have these little touches that I love, which is after you eat something, whether it's a you know something that's in a pack like some chips or like you know you drink a soda, like it rolls off to the floor, like you actually drop the wrapper or the empty contents on the ground and it rolls to the side, or it just you know I think you could kick it around and stuff. I like that. That those tiny little quality of life stuff like that. I'm a big fan of. There's a mod for Daisy by amazing modder. What's his name? Uh, I want to say Zen Arcus. I don't know Zen. Everyone who's playing DayZ probably knows this guy in the modding scene, but Zen has a bunch of these little quality of life mods that are fucking awesome. My favorites like crafting sounds and stuff like that. I love stuff like that. Just little things that just you know, I hate to say it, but should belong in Vanilla Daisy. It's hard to say things like that because I'm not a developer, and it's like a developer will look at me like, "What the fuck you mean should belong in Daisy?" Like we're the developer, we tell you what belongs in Daisy. But it's just crafting sounds and also one of the mods that I was just saying I like completely lost track of was that like after you eat, you can leave your wrappers on the ground, and that's cool because if you were playing in a PvP server, a modded PvP server, you can see that a player was recently there because they ate like some chips and they left the wrapper there. You go, okay, so you know my trail is hot. That's probably I'm sure they probably either had that at one point, Bohemia Interactive, but maybe they removed it because it causes maybe a server load, it causes a load on the server. I don't know, man. I'm not good with these technical terms and stuff, but I'm assuming it would be a pain in the ass if everyone did that and just ate and it'll just be trash everywhere and it'll probably crash your server. Or maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it doesn't take up that much resources. I don't know. Don't know. Um, Shooting feels great. Damn. Let me take them steps back. Great. It's a big word. I shouldn't have used great. Shooting in humanity is good. I like the fact that you can aim at body parts with your cursor. You can aim directly in the head and pop their head off. Very satisfying. I like the fact that there's enemy AI. I'm a huge enemy AI guy. I just feel like pretty much any zombie game you can think of, anything that's like a DayZ clone or an inspiration from DayZ, whatever you want to say, or however you want to phrase it, I believe that you should at least have enemy AI implemented into the game because not everybody wants to play PvP. Some people want to rent servers like me and just play PvE. Some people want to do both PvP, PvE. Some people just want to do one, just PvP. Like I like the fact that you can have your options. And I just feel like it's cool that a game like HumanitZ, I think, and even in its early stages, had enemy AI. That's so cool. That I like that because you can play single player, which you can. That's another cool thing. You can jump. Scum allows you to play single player, and they don't even have enemy AI yet, although they're working on it. Hallelujah. And I feel like Daisy should step up, man. I know the game's been out for like 10 something years and they're probably not going to implement it, but it'll be cool to see armed AI. Mods do a pretty good job, man. I will say that. They're pretty good, but it'll be cool to see an actual baked in enemy AI system. Maybe find some survivors, some enemy AI survivors out in the wilderness, like camping or something like that. That'll be cool. It'll be cool to see that. Um, I like the fact that humanity has different seasons like autumn, winter, summer. I don't know if it has a fall, but I imagine it wouldn't be that hard to implement if you already have like a. Is autumn fall? Dude, I get my seasons mixed up, man. But it's cool that you have different the temperature system, whether you get sick or not. It's rudimentary right now. Honestly, most of the systems in the game are rudimentary. I heard you can get sick and all that, but I haven't got sick yet. I know there's little snowstorms and stuff, and you got to stay inside the building. That's pretty cool. I like that. Man, this game's on its way up, man. Now that I think about it, it's got a lot of features for a game that's under a year old. It's like 6 months old, something like that. I'm rooting for it, man. Hence why I bought it. And it's hard to recommend, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I was to tell you right now, if you were to put a gun to my head and go, Danny, do you recommend buying HumanitZ? It'll be hard for me to say yes. It'll be hard for me to say no. You know, if I'll say this, I hate this because it's like I like yes or no answers, but it's really a giant maybe with this game because the best way I can answer it is this: it's like, are you okay with playing a game that's a work in progress, that's a little janky, that's still a little undercooked, but still very much a game in there? You can still have fun, you can still build a base, you can still loot, you can still do lots of things. Are you okay with having a game that's kind of half baked at the moment? Then yeah, buy it. But if you're someone who's like, nah, I want the good features on it, I want the game to be more fleshed out, then you should wait. That's it. That's my answer. It has I think they added a dog companion recently. You can feed a dog, and I think you can train it to attack zombies. I'm not sure if you can, but I've seen videos of that, and I was like, that's cool. See, stuff like that. Like, this game's getting shown a lot of love. Uh, I hope that it continues on that path, man. I really do. As far as like zombie survival games in general, I can't get tired of them. I can't get enough of them. I really can't. Like, the zombie genre is so tired. It's so played out. It's been done and done again, distastefully and also just excellently. I feel like, dare I say, I feel like we, and when I say we, I mean like gamers and people, developers, the gaming industry in all, from the end user, from us to the developers. Like, I feel like we're moving into a direction where we're opting for more realism. right? Like when I was a kid, Super Mario was the game that turned me out. And what I mean by turn me out, I mean like I've played games before Super Mario. I played like Super Pitfall, which I loved for like the Atari. I know I'm ancient, but like Mario, Super Mario for the Nintendo Entertainment System, that was the game that turned me out. Like that was the game that made me like, oh, I love video games. Like I want to play get video games forever. Here I am, approaching 40 soon, and you know, I still love video games. But Mario was the first one that really, it wasn't the first game I played, but it was the first game that popped like popped that bubble. That doesn't make sense. Like turned on that light bulb. Like, okay, this is it. I want to do this, whatever this may be. As you know, for the rest of my life. Sounds dramatic, but it's true. Like I love. I rather play video games than watch movies and stuff like that. Although I do enjoy watching movies, but if I had to pick one, it'll definitely be video games. Whatever. What I'm trying to say is that for a long time, a lot of games try to capture the magic that Mario did. A lot of games had mascots. It's like a big mascot. War Sonic came out of this mascot. War Sonic's still relevant today, maybe not as much as Mario, but other failed mascots also, and others and other ones that are relatively still around and people kind of know, but not really. Um, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so eventually games started getting more realistic. Like I remember being a kid, playing Metal Gear, like the first Metal Gear for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I remember enjoying it. Like I kind of didn't know what was going on. I remember it was open world. I remember it was a lot of sneaking and reading, a lot of typos, and I remember enjoying it, going like wow, I never played a game that's like that kind of. I would say Metal Gear kind of ignited the open world cravings that I've always had when I play a game. Like I always want a big, massive world, and Metal Gear is probably the first open, big, giant world. No, no, it wasn't. I'm lying. It was one of the games that definitely stood out. Dragon Warrior was actually one of the first games that I've played that made me Dragon Warrior for the Nintendo Entertainment System. That is the game that I would like. It was a big giant open world. It was turn-based battles and it was fantasy, but it was cool to see that you can just travel to this throughout this giant map. And then Shadowrun for the Sega Genesis. Oh God, I love that game. Even till today, that game was so ahead of its time. So ahead of its time. You play it now and it's still great. It's still a great game. Um, what I'm trying to say is that little by little, we've been on this course, and by we, I mean like all of us in the video game industry, from like I said earlier, from us, from the gamers to the developers, we've been on this slow and steady course of more realism. We're slowly shunning the arcadey jump on their head and watch the points soar up on the top right of your screen, bright and colorful, cartoonish sounds. Like those games are still awesome. Not a knock towards those games, but we're all moving into this direction where it's more realistic, right? Look at and more difficult, less hand holding, because we've been an entire life we've played games that they held your hand. They showed you tutorials, maps, you always knew where enemies were at. You always knew where you were at. You always knew where your friends are at. And then we started moving towards this direction, like Dark Souls. Dark Souls was fantasy, but there was like, as far as I know, there wasn't a map. You had to memorize everything. You had to die. You lost everything. Everything you worked for, you lost. It was difficult. It was heartbreaking, but it was hyper addictive. Then you had games like DayZ, followed the same footsteps. I don't know which one came out first, Dark Souls or DayZ, but they're both cut from the same cloth in many ways. And these games are becoming more and more. Now you got Escape from Tarkov. You've got Dead Side, which is relatively new, but it's definitely making waves. Games like Scum, all these games are slowly, and then a lot of mechanics from these games are slowly being opted into other more mainstream games. Like for example, this is just one, like the Division 2. There was like a dark zone, and maybe even a Division 1. I did play the Division 1, but I never got far into it. I did play the Division 2 and finished it with some friends. Mad fun. That game's awesome. Um, but I remember there was like a dark zone, if I'm not mistaken, where you can go in there and PvP and shoot each other for supplies and stuff. That's straight from DayZ. If you think about it, like even AAA companies are understanding that these games are like the future, difficult, less hand holding, and I do feel like these games are going to be commonplace even for the average gamer on console, for example. And I'm only saying console. I'm specifically singling console players out because they're the majority in the gaming pie chart. More people play consoles than more video games play console than pretty much anywhere. But it's also geographic, I believe, because I think in Japan more people play on their mobile phones than they do in actual consoles, and that's because Japan is a society on the go. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, the vast majority of players all across the world, all from all parts of the world, I believe that they play on console the most, followed by mobile or PC. But PC is up there. Point is that even the average gamer who played games that were just arcadey and such, even they will eventually end up liking a game that's hardcore. By hardcore, I mean like permadeath and no hand holding, no maps. You kind of have to memorize where you're at, and I'm all for it. I do. I feel like these games are highly rewarding because they're difficult, because, you know, they have more challenges to overcome. And the whole purpose of this podcast, not to get dramatic on you, is to always and constantly illustrate the parallels between life and video games. I probably said this before, can't remember because I talk too damn much. But like there's only a few things in this life that people draw parallels from. Like they always like fighting, for example. People always equate things that they do in life to fighting. Like I'm fighting this battle, and in reality, it's just Billy working in an office somewhere. It's like you're not fighting no one, bro. But they use words like that, like I'm fighting this battle. It's like it sounds dramatic, but like fighting, because fighting in parallels to life. Like they're just they just gel together. They just vibe together. Same thing with video games, right? There's so many parallels with video games, and I feel like we're reaching there. I feel like in my lifetime, eventually, the most commonplace of games, there will always be arcade games, detective games, porn games, for example. There's always going to be all sorts of games, and I welcome that because you don't want to just play hyper realistic games all the time. You're going to develop like a fucking disorder or something. But what I'm trying to say is that I feel like that's the direction we're going to. I don't have no proof on this. I don't follow trends or anything like that, but it just feels that way. If I can explain it, like I feel like more and more people are just jumping on board with more harder, realistic games, and because life is hard in a way, right? Like if you want all to put it short, this is the last thing I'll say. So I'm over my time here, but everything in life that's worth it, you got to work hard for. I know that sounds corny and that sounds cheesy. I'm not trying to be preachy, but it's true. It's an old cliche, but it's like anything worth having doesn't come easy. That's what I'm trying to say. And when you struggle for it and then you finally earn it, it just feels much sweeter. That's just the way it is. And with life, right? Like if you work out a lot and you start to see muscles, you go, all this working out and all this pain and suffering that I've been going through is finally working out. I feel great about myself. I feel great in general because I'm healthy. That's just one parallel, just exercising. But in video games, it's the same thing, right? Like you don't have a map, you don't have no guidance. You've died several times from other players, and then one day you finally kill someone. And this level of exuberance, if I use that word correctly, you just feel this level of bliss, this joy, because it's like you finally did it. You probably die 5 minutes later, and there's still your shit, but you're still high off the fact that you finally did it after weeks probably of you trying to kill a player, and you finally did a geared player, and now you're geared up, even if it's just for 5 minutes. It feels great, and that's enough motivation for you to keep going because you've had a taste of doing something difficult and finally becoming the victor, right? Like that's the trend in video games that we're going for right now, at least in my opinion. I'm out of here. Stay safe. Catch you guys on the next one.